Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm still looking through various Vampire Covenant lists whilst I'm getting a room ready in my house to put up the webcam again. Yeah, Vampire Covenant, we're down now to the Brotherhood of the Dragon Bloodline. And this is an example of a list what you can play. It's a bit of a special list in terms of not having a vampire count in the army. There's also a lot of Brotherhood of the Dragon plays that you see with 2 vampire counts instead of these 5 vampire courtiers. But, well, for just this video, we'll just take this list because I think it's a bit more interesting than the other one. I will also discuss some character setups for some popular Blood of the Dragon vampire count setups. But well, we'll just start off with this. So what do we have? We have 5 vampire courtiers. One of them is the general, but with the Brotherhood of the Dragon, you have the monster hunter bloodline power, and in a bloodline army, you can duplicate any bloodline powers you wish as many times as you want, except for the ancient ones. So in this list, we have taken monster hunter to the extreme. So every single of these vampire courtiers deals multiple wounds 2 against monsters. They start out with 4 attacks each. They start out with offensive 6. You can go to offensive 8 with Brotherhood of the Dragon, and then you could get offensive 9 if you want with the paired weapons. They also do have plate armor, they have a shield, and they have a skeletal steed. So each one of them has a 1-up armor save. There's some wizard apprentices in there. Most likely they will be taking Pentagram of Pain, so you can heal yourself and also deal some damage. You could also go for some arises in the mix, and then you can also heal the other vampire courtiers, and also the vampire knights. Even though the healing on the vampire knights is not going to be that effective, with just 1 wound being healed every single time you cast Arise. For core we have skeletons, then for special we have baronites and some great bats, and then we still have 2 units of 5 vampire knights. So first I'll go a bit through the character setup. Why would you take Monster Hunter? Well, I already said multiple wounds 2 against Towering Presence. I think there's quite a big advantage to having 5 courtiers that can take down monsters rather easily, because you're gonna have agility 6, you're gonna go to agility 7 on the charge, you're gonna hit most monsters on a 2+, and you're gonna be striking at strength 7. So even if you only manage to do 3 wounds, then you're gonna multiply it into 6 wounds. And these vampire courtiers, against anything else, they still hold their ground quite well. So they still start up with 4 attacks at strength 5, with a 1-up armor save, with 3 wounds each. So combat res is obviously going to be a bit of an issue. And also the fact that you have to issue a duel unless another model does so first. So yeah, either you would have to have champions in the same combat or other characters that are during the duel. I think Monster Hunter covers maybe, well, it's not necessarily a weakness of Brotherhood of the Dragon, because Brotherhood of the Dragon can deal with monsters quite well. However, if you look at the other blood powers, you have Eternal Duelist, which allows you to reroll once and to hit and to wound, which is also really useful. Because it guarantees that you don't really get screwed over by your dice as much. And otherwise you have Crimson Rage to go on a vampire count. Well, the benefit that a count has over a courtier for Blood of the Dragon, it's not that big in my opinion. I mean, you get +1 resilience, which is the biggest change, I think. You have an extra attack, you have an even higher offensive, but that doesn't really matter anymore. And you have access to Crimson Rage. So Crimson Rage, I have here a setup for some other characters with Brotherhood of the Dragon, and we also have the Crimson Rage Ancient power. This means that every unsaved wound caused by the vampire's close combat attacks generates another close combat attack. In a sense, that is really, really good. However, you're going to be locked up in a challenge, in a duel so often. So you really have to pair it up with some other model that can duel and that can also survive the duel. So I would imagine that just a Barrow Knight champion might not be enough. And then if you're stuck in a duel, you're only gonna ever get 3 overkill. So I'm less of a fan of this because you're spending 1700 points. You do get an okay magic phase, but you still only have 2 characters that can really go to town. However, the first one that we have here with Eternal Duelist, Halberd, Great Weapon, Lance, and Pert Weapons, basically that is all you need for your damage output, just a different set of weapons. You have Death Cheater to prevent you from dying, and you have the Eternity Gem on top of that to negate any multiple wound stuff that your opponent might have. The other vampire count has Crimson Rage, and he has Blessed Inscriptions on a halberd. Blessed Inscriptions on a halberd, it's generally just a very solid choice to take on anything, really. And Legend of the Black King gives you a 4 Abegus. The only issue with halberd is that you won't ignore parries, so you don't really want to chew through rank and file with this guy because you're going to be hitting on 4 plus, which is really sad if you have offensive 9 or even 10 with paired weapons. And there's not really a fix for that other than to take paired weapons. Then we go to the core setup. So I just chose 2 big units of skeletons and a unit of bat swarms here. Their only role is to just anchor something in that you don't really want to fight at all, to be honest. So 510 points you're paying now for these 60 skeletons, whilst with Nosferatu you could get 60 skeletons after the magic phase for about 300 points. So you are paying a premium really for the skeletons. However, these units, they will not go anywhere basically because you're going to run them 5 wide. They're going to be 12 deep, so that is rather deep. But yeah, your opponent is only going to get 100 millimeters of space to ram stuff into these units. So they're definitely going to stay around at least for 1 turn. But probably they're just going to survive a lot of punishment from your opponent. The funny thing is with this kind of anchor that you can also set up your counter charges a bit better because you can really rely on them sticking around for a long time. So in the extreme case where you really have a very strong unit in the opposing army, you can just put all your courtiers together in a Vampire Knight unit, and then you have a front rank of Vampire courtiers and a back rank of Vampire Knights. Yeah, that will definitely put some hurt on any unit in the game, even though it might be a bit of overkill. So the 60 skeletons, yeah, there's 2 units of them that they're just gonna be anchors basically. And also the parry on them compared to zombies means that there might still be situations where you can support the charge with your Vampire Knights because they don't bleed combat res as much as zombies or ghouls would even do. Mostly because of the parry, and also because of the ranks and the Legion standard, obviously, and the fact that you just want to play them 5 wide rather than the temptation of the ghouls that would like to get played 8 wide maybe, because of the reroll to hit in subsequent combat rounds. The bat swarms are just there to fill out the core basically and to be cheap chaff in a list that does really like to have some chaff at least. Yeah, and that rounds out the core. So then we'll continue with the other choices. I have a unit of Baronites and I have a unit of Great Bats. The Baronites, they provide the army with a banner of speed. And the funny thing is that if you have characters in the unit, they will also benefit from the banner of speed for the duration that they are in the unit. So if you are declaring charges, then you will get the benefit. So you will get an advance of 9 inches on any Vampire Courtier that is in the unit. So you can comfortably have like 2 or 3 courtiers in there, and then either charge with the entire unit or you charge out the courtiers on their own. The musician is just to be able to move around a bit easier. The champion is to take away jewels. I think in a Brotherhood of the Dragon list, wherever you can get a champion in your units, you really want to have one. 5 Baronites is a bit on the low side. You could go for a bigger unit. The question is also whether you want to play a bit of a bigger unit in general, and have like a Baronite bus, or whether you would want to focus more on Vampire Knights. So you can also play 2 buses of 10 Baronites. Basically, Vampire Knights, they are the better option, I would say. However, their reanimation is worse, and they also have Frenzy, if I'm correct. So Vampire Knights, it's a bit of a toss-up. We'll look at the profile of them. So the Baronites, they had a reanimation of D3 plus 2. Vampire Knights have reanimation 1. So if you don't focus on magic, then this doesn't really hurt you. However, Vampire Knights, they do lack 1 inch of advance. They don't have automatically Strider, but they do have 2 attacks each with Devastating Charge plus 1 attack in the Brotherhood of the Dragon list, and they do have plate armor, so they have a 1-up armor save instead of a 2-up armor save. Also, they have 2 wounds each compared to the Barrow Knights, 1 wound each. Yeah, it's a unit that can do some damage themselves rather than the Baronites that are mostly there to just stand around and have the occasional hit that they can do in combat. In the grind, maybe Baronites can still compare against Vampire Knights because you're going to lose stat fast less quickly. Opponents are going to be less stat fast as a result, and also you can just re-raise them easier. So if you want to play Brotherhood of the Dragon with either Baronites or you want to play a Necromancer, then I would go for the Baronites. And otherwise, if you want to forgo the magic more or less, I think I would go for Vampire Knights. They don't have Frenzy actually anymore. I didn't know that, but they don't. The only downside that is still attached to Vampire Knights is that anything with multiple wounds is going to affect Vampire Knights, whilst it won't affect your Barrow Knights. Some things that you could consider have multiple wounds are, for example, Bolt Throwers. Bolt Throwers, they could do 2 wounds. However, in that scenario, again, Vampire Knights, you will probably play them in 1 rank, and Barrow Knights, you will probably play them in 2 ranks. So the Bolt Thrower is going to get an extra hit on the Barrow Knights, so that evens out the multiple wounds. Again, because the extra hit is going to be at a lower strength, but you might not roll a 2 on your multiple wounds or a 3. So yeah, that's going to be that. I think against the shooting heavy meta, maybe the Barrow Knights are the better option also, because your characters can hide better, because, well, with the Vampire Knights, if one of them goes down, suddenly your opponent can target their characters. Whilst with the Barrow Knights, if you take a bigger unit, then it's going to take a little bit more for your opponent to be able to target your Barrow Knights, your characters in the Barrow Knights. I went for a mounted approach here. I think that makes sense because you want your characters in combat as much as possible and as quickly as possible. And also it gives them an increased armor save. So there's nearly no reason why you wouldn't play Brotherhood of the Dragon on foot, I think. It could still be something that they could improve in the book. Like giving some kind of bonus to on foot Brotherhood of the Dragon models. Because I don't really see the appeal of running them on foot. So if you have any comments on that, please let me know. Also, please let me know what you think of the list. Which variation would you prefer to play? Either the 2 vampire counts or the 5 vampire core chains. And yeah, with that, we have had another bloodline to cover. This one is going to be quite interesting in terms of gameplay and how do you deploy and what you do in terms of movement. But we'll get to that later. I think after I have gone through all the different bloodlines and the independent one, I will focus a bit more on the deployments of each. So thank you for watching, and I'll hopefully see you next time.